Hey guys, Todd with Great Escape Farm here. Today we're talking about pruning red raspberries, or the Red Raspberry Pruning Basics. So red raspberry, with the botanical name of Rubus idaeus, and sometimes called the European raspberry, is the common red-fruited species that you find throughout Europe and Asia. It's also the common type that you find in North America, even though the North American native variety is Rubus strigosus. So let's talk real quick about the basics. So in order to properly prune red raspberries, you must understand the different canes so that you know which ones to prune. Red raspberries have a perennial root system and biennial canes. The first year cane is a Primocane, and the next year cane is called a Floricane, and the following year that cane dies and can be completely removed. An established raspberry bush will have all three types of canes. This year's new canes will be Primocane, which will be next year's Floricane. But you will have new canes next year that will be that year's Primocane. So let's talk about Primocane real quick. The Primocane is the first year's growth. These canes do not have any lateral branches and usually grow 4 to 8 feet tall. Unless you have a variety referred to as everbearing, these canes will not produce fruit the first year. If you do have an everbearing variety, your raspberry bush will give you 2 fruitings. One on the Floricane in the summer and one on the Primocane in late summer into the fall. The Floricane is what the cane is called the second year. It will not grow taller, but will grow lateral shoots. The canes will have short shoots called Raspberries that will have flowers on them in the late spring to early summer and will produce fruit usually in the midsummer, but some do produce later in the summer. Spent Floricane. The dead wood, also known as spent Floricane, are last year's Floricanes. They will have a grayish dead look to them, and they will have dead lateral shoots on them. So let's talk about pruning real quick. You will be pruning in the mid-winter or early spring. So right now it is mid-March, and these are just starting to pop out. You can see right here I have a couple of shoots coming out of the canes. Because of this, you will not have to worry about any Primocane. Primocane have not come up yet. They will come up later on this spring. All you have on your bush right now are Floricane or dead canes. This makes things easy. For the Floricanes, you will get the fruit from them this year, so you want to be selective. You will want to prune out and leave only about 3 or 4 canes per linear foot. However, I'm dealing with a pot right here, as you can see, and I'm not dealing with a linear foot, so I'm going to go ahead and selectively prune in a different way. But if you're doing a row of them, you want to selectively prune, so you leave 3 to 4 canes per linear foot, and you also don't want the row to be any wider than about 2 feet. You'll want to leave the largest, strongest looking canes, pruning out the smaller, more spindly ones. If you have an everbearing variety, you also need to prune back last year's tips that actually flowered out in last summer and gave you fruit. And I actually have some right here that did fruit out last year. So what about last year's Floricane? Well, last year's Floricane will be dead wood, and that will be the first thing that we're going to take out, and we're going to start taking them out right now. Okay, so this one right here, you can see it has a grayish color to it, brown. It obviously looks dead. One thing to watch for are the side or the lateral shoots coming off here. That means you know that they are the last year's wood. So what we're going to do is get close to the ground, about 1 inch off, and get in here, and we're just going to cut them off, and we're going to toss them aside. And I have another one right in here. I'm going to follow that back, and we're going to cut it. And here's another, cut it. And we're going to go through and we're going to get all of these out. That one and that one. And there's another one right there. So after we get these out, it's actually going to be cleaned up a good bit, and will leave us a little bit less to get at in here. That one. So once you get an eye for it, it's kind of easy to see. These don't have prickers on them too bad. If they did, I would definitely be using gloves for this. They're not bothering me too much at all. That one. this one, and you'll notice there's a lot of weeds and stuff that grew up here last year, so I will actually go ahead and put mulch in this year. Okay, so that's it for all of last year's wood. So now let me move us over here. And Murphy always has to be the star of the show and get into everything that I have going on here. So now we're going to get into last year's Primocane, which is this year's Floricane. So last year's Primocane, because I have an ever-bearing variety, it actually flowered. You can see the spent blooms up here, and it died back to this point right here, and then you see the lateral shoots coming off. So this is going to be this year's Floricane, and each one of these shoots, they're going to go off to the side, and they will produce flowers for us this year. So I want to trim off just the dead stuff right here. And if you can see this one, I come back to right there. There's my first shoot coming out. And then I have this one. And I would just follow through on all these and trim them all back. And we'll come over to this side here, and same thing. Come back, whoops, I missed a spent Floricane here, so we'll take that one all the way back. And I have shoots up to right there, and right here. And that's it. Now what I want to do is I want to thin this out a little bit. So I have, let's say this is about 2 foot by 2 foot. I have these canes that are very, very close to one another, and this one is rather thin and spindly. The other one is a little bit, it's not quite as long, but it's a little thicker. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out. I also have this one over here, and I don't think you can see it from there, but I have this one which is hanging off to the side. Normally I would go ahead and pull this one off, but what I'm probably going to do is I'll go ahead and tie it up a little bit later on. So this one, I will keep this one, and here's another spindly one, so I'll pull it out. And here's another Primocane. Okay, I'm gonna keep that one, so I'll pull this one out. Pull this one, we'll leave that one, have that one, and around here I have another spindly one right here in the center, and that's about where we'll leave it. So I will go ahead and, like I say, weed this out a little bit so I can actually see some of these spent Floricanes in here and get them. And that's about it. So I will let these grow, and I will get new Primocanes that come up this year. And the new Primocanes will actually give me fruit in the September time frame. These Floricanes right here, they'll send shoots out, and they will flower in probably the May-June time frame, and probably late June, early July, I'll actually get fruit off of these. And then the Primocanes, the ones that come up, they will flower in about mid-August, and by the end of August into the first frost, I will actually get fruit off of them. So love these. This is actually a heritage raspberry. It is an everbearing, and I love the everbearing. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and have a great day.